when somebody gives you their time, how you really know. I read somewhere that the highest human act is to inspire. And we all are in search of inspiration every day. So events like this and just opportunities to be able to either inspire or be inspired, I think is what creates movements, you know? We all have the capacity to inspire people.
What's good, everybody? This is Ghost Archives back in the building. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. All right, so today, in remembrance of the late, great Nipsey Hussle.
Happy 420. Oh, shit. Almost bit it. Happy 420, everybody. You see I'm smoking. Almost bit it. Almost fucked my shit up.
I wanted to bring something positive because there's so much negative out there in the media right now. But I wanted to share with you guys a few clips, especially for independent artists or young entrepreneurs. 3 quotes that really stuck out to me and things that you guys should definitely keep in your mind. So let's run this first clip and then we'll talk about it.
So we wanted to do that. And we wanted to be able to drop not only music, like when we did the $100 CD, imagine if I had 10 stores across the country that I could have shipped 1,000 copies to at $100 each, and we could have released it on that day simultaneously, and then I could have done my pop-up shops at my stores. And then we surround them with actually a dope streetwear line and also dope novelty items like the All Money In money counter, or like I said, the streetwear stuff, the Crenshaw sweaters or the All Money In hats and whatnot. But the main driving factor would be there's an exclusive music release that's exclusive to these stores as opposed to being exclusive to a digital platform for a week. Imagine we can make the album exclusive to the store. You can only buy it at the Marathon store.
So in this clip, Nipsey Hussle is talking about the importance or the usage of his own retail stores and placing, using his products like a t-shirt or an album to release new music on for people that are proud to pay or people that are willing to invest an extra $1 into this artist's music. And what he's referencing is he has the lifestyle brand, the Marathon Clothing, and if he can update and capture data, which is a big important part in marketing, is if you're able to capture the data from the consumer or the person that is interacting or buying your product, such as, you know, getting their email and newsletters and creating content for updates through email, blogs, just really giving a hands-on experience for your customer, for your viewer, for, you know, anybody that's engaging with your content. And I think this is important, especially in today's age when it comes to large corporations having control of people's music. I'm going to be talking about in the Kanye video when he does the interview about how the music industry is controlled. So what Nipsey Hussle is saying as far as on the retail side is having a lifestyle brand, so these Marathon Clothing stores, and having 10 of them across the country. And if he's able to drop an album direct to consumer, it's kind of cutting that middleman out. And that's really what the idea is on the independent grind.
Contagious about this bar, and I think it's in New York City. And then it had like a little corner where it was like a little door. And it, above the door it said, "Please don't tell." And you walk in the door and it's popping. You walk behind the door and it's just a party going on. It's drinks, it's females, it's popping. In the front look run down and beat up, but it's supposed to be a secret. It says, "Please don't tell" when you walk in. And because of that, it made it like a secret. It made it like some privileged info. So everybody that ended up walking through that door went and told everybody they know about this secret, like shady little club. And it became like one of the most popping spots in the city. And it was supposed to be a secret, like, you know, it's like you tell somebody, don't say nothing about this, and they're gonna go run and tell everybody they know about it. And the book was just about what makes things go viral. And one of the concepts Jonah was talking about was like social currency.
I also wanted to add, when it comes to retail and, you know, doing collaborations and partnerships, you see this with certain food restaurants like food trucks. Food trucks will pop up with popular restaurants, you know, certain locations that have high traffic. They'll pair up with them and they will offer a pop-up experience like pop-up shops. So that's another thing artists want to keep in mind. You want to really value your music. And I know it's extremely hard with Spotify and Apple Music, and artists really getting the pennies to cents. And the real system, the real trick on the music industry is that they're selling this false hope, this false dream to smaller artists, so that way they can in turn pay to play in every aspect of the game. And I think that's what's interesting about what's happening with this next generation. I do think that there are dope artists out there, and I think everyone has to play the game a little bit, but I'm also starting to open my eyes to what marketing is, what the music industry is, and it's very, very important to, respect your fan base, respect your audience, and continue to give them avenues to support you, so that way you can continue to support them. And having pop-up shops, activations, going to places like, the NFL, NASCAR, if you're able to talk with people and make deals to be able to promote yourself on a higher platform. Showing up to restaurants. When I was younger and we were making music, we used to show up to Chiba Hut, which is a popular stoner sandwich shop, and we would go and perform up there, and because we knew there was going to be high traffic up there, and we would sell our CDs there. We would collaborate with popular artists that were throwing shows, that it wasn't a pay-to-play situation. It was, invite your people, and whoever comes, you make the money off of that situation. I respect that.
Albums from like Jay-Z, right, or T.I., any big successful artist. Some of their albums was really successful. Some of them was just like...
Not really.
And so the difference between the ones that were and the ones that weren't was the narrative. Like the I'm About to Go to Jail album from T.I. Or the I Just Got This Big Movie, ATL, and I'm calling my album King. And the song is in this. It was attached to a narrative. Jay-Z, I watched American Gangster, and I got inspired.
The second clip, he talks about the narrative, the importance of storytelling, especially when it comes to the importance of, like, when you're marketing a project. People want to know what the story is. The narrative is what ties the experience to your consumer. They really want to get a feel of what they're doing. And we can take this in any aspect of marketing. If we're talking about a food brand, if you're in a food company, what is the overall objective? You want people to, what is food? Everyone has to eat, right? So when you're eating, you're thinking about the dinner table, you're thinking about family. So you want to, if you're a food company, you're wanting to, provide that whole experience. You don't want to just be like, cheese, eat it. You want to like tell the story of it's Thanksgiving. You want to pull a turkey out the oven. So you use this turkey brand, and then you want to use this dishware set, and you want to cook with this type of appliance. And then you can apply that to the music industry. If you're, like he was saying, like Jay-Z, when American Gangster came out, and there was the movie with Denzel Washington, and it inspired him. It had that whole narrative behind it. If you're talking about an album like Good Kid, Mad City, there's a narrative behind it. When you're talking about Victory Lap, what's happening at the time in the current state of the culture and where this artist is at, and he releases something that is a statement. There's a story. There's like a full circle moment when it comes to an album like Victory Lap. When it comes to an album like All Eyes on Me, this is Tupac coming out of coming out of jail, having so much heat on him from the East and the West Coast beef, and, just being right in the middle of that. If it comes to, the storyline of a television show, of where the current state of affairs is, like even the commentary on what's happening on the outside world reflecting. I was watching Daredevil the other day. Daredevil is sick. Go check out that Marvel show. The Daredevil Born Again, that's dope. And it really does, like, there's a certain part with Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, where he like runs for mayor, and it's really interesting how they're playing it out. It's not necessarily super biased on Republican and Democrat, but it does show how the system plays out these certain scenarios and how things line up, and how criminals and government and all these different aspects, and we know that's how it operates, run things. So just having a narrative with the current state of affairs or whatever it is you're trying to convey. So if it's music, it's very important to have some sort of narrative around what your project is, build some sort of anticipation, or even just yourself as an artist. There has to be some sort of narrative. Who you are, who are you? What is your purpose? What is your mission? Are you here to just turn up? What is your story as an artist? At least for an artist that I think has lasting power, a diverse artist that brings something to the table. And that's what's special about artists like Nipsey Hussle, Kendrick Lamar, even at a point Drake. People they have a utility for what the time is. Like they have an actual purpose that they're serving at a certain point. So you got to take that into consideration. All right, so for this third clip, let's watch this really quick.
The marketing for Crenshaw was it was a movement called Proud to Pay.
Yeah, man. And I was proud to pay. That's why I paid,
Most
brother.
definitely. But it was by choice. It wasn't by force. If you wanted to get it for free, you can go online and download it.
Yeah.
And I just think that the way we buy and consume music, we test it first.
Right,
we
right.
get the bootleg first.
Yeah, man.
Even if you love the artist, you test it first. And then if you like what you hear, if you was inspired by it, if it gave you some game, if it gave you some good times, you support it as like a reciprocation of what you got.
Right,
like,
right.
I fuck with it. Here go.
Yeah, some people
$10.
won't even go back and get it, though.
If it's whack, then,
Right.
you like, I ain't gonna listen to it while I pay for it.
I hear you.
So I'm like, I just wanted to test out offering it free.
So in this clip, what Nipsey Hussle is talking about is, I think, two things. Is one, the importance of giving free samples, the importance of providing a mini experience, or at his level, the full experience. And two, the idea of valuing something at $100 and giving your audience the option to do so. So earlier we talked about a retail spot, and I brought up Proud to Pay. The Proud to Pay campaign is giving your direct to consumers, because right now the consumers are going to Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and YouTube for their consuming experiences when it comes to music. Mainly me, I do YouTube, I do Apple Music. But a lot of artists aren't able to eat off of that, especially smaller artists, because it's really, really low pennies. Like I seen some crazy numbers about what 1 million streams really earns you in the grand scheme of things. So how do you sustain a career off of, you might be an artist that gets 20,000 views, 10,000 views, and how consistent you are, and how you really drive that momentum up. And then with all that production, video editing, like, where is the return at? Now, if you have the opportunity to leverage yourself to where people are, frantic enough to buy something that is of value like that, you can offer them those dope experiences. That's why things like autographs, providing special copies of maybe a vinyl, providing one-on-one experiences, direct to consumer,
And with mailbox money.
Yeah.
For a G.
Yup.
So you was like, yo, I did it once. I'm gonna do this shit again.
You know what it was? I was recording music, and it was like, what's gonna be the next campaign? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I had learned so much just off going direct to my fans. Because even after the LA release, we went on tour, and we had pop-up shops in every market where we sold CDs for $100. So imagine 50 cities we go to. We did one at Vinny's in Brooklyn. And it was like, dope boys pulling up with 20,000 in their pocket, pulling out racks. Like, let me get 10 of them, Nip. I respect the grind.
Yeah.
So I just seen we kind of like struck a nerve. And I say that it was value floating over us. And we just got a pen and kind of like, it was like a balloon full of value. And we just hit the balloon and it splashed down on us. So I ain't want to just divert from that approach and go back to a traditional approach. So I was like, imagine if I made 10 times less amount of this product and charge 10 times more.
That's why I think it's cool, like when they do like the baseball cards or the football cards, you get one of ones with a patch on them and an autograph, and those ones are worth millions of dollars because of where they were in their career and what they're doing. And I think that's something that artists could implement into the future, is some type of memorabilia, NFT, physical form that still provides like an updated experience for your artists. But I think that's in the future. So, if someone creates that off of this video, best of luck to you. I appreciate it. If not, maybe one day we can come up with something like that. I think that'll be dope. The free samples, when you're providing a product, if you're trying to get yourself out there, you want to be able to provide those free samples, get content of, people wearing your product or using your product, or showing that you're willing to provide to the community as well, provide to open to getting new customers. Okay, we'll give you a t-shirt, if you rock it, just make sure you rock it every day at the gym, provide that exposure, hand out stickers. Hey, I'll put these stickers out, I'll give you this, do giveaways, do sweepstakes, that's why it's important to do partnerships with different companies. And if you can leverage your popularity and your viewership value, how can you value with the quality of content, your viewership, and what product you're providing, and then you can collaborate with other companies to be able to, cross promote on those platforms. So
I was like, I thought that there was a potential for it to be supported, but I didn't expect it to be as people to gravitate to it as much as they did.
Yeah.
I was surprised. I thought that I would have a couple people. I thought I could sell 1,000 units. That was the goal, to sell 1,000 units at $100 each.
Yeah.
Make 100,000 outside of the traditional model.
Yeah.
But it turned into a wildfire. My whole tour, we was doing pop-up shops for the $100 CD in every city and state. You know what I mean? And it was lines around the corner. And you had like dope boys pulling out 10, 15,
Yeah.
20,000. Like, let me get 5 of them, hustle. I respect the move. You know what I mean? So I was definitely surprised and humbled by the reception. And
referencing a book that he had read, and the idea was, it was about a family that opened a Philly cheesesteak restaurant, and they said it was like the best Philly cheesesteak in the world, and they made it like a $500 cheesesteak or $100 cheesesteak. Forgive me if I'm mistaken, but it was something value like that. And when people seen that, it actually started gaining traction. There's people out there that do value that, and all right, let's see what this $500 sandwich is worth, or let's see what this, painting is about. That's why when people get into art and collectibles, you start getting into these ideas of things that can be, it's just memorabilia, it's just created, but it's because of the moments in time. It's the story, it's the storytelling, it's providing that proud to pay, that one-on-one direct to consumer experience, getting people to reuse the product, to be proud of the product. That, hey, I'm a proud Top Dog Entertainment listener. I'm gonna have the TDE hoodie. I'm a proud Nipsey Hussle fan. I'm gonna have the Marathon clothing. I'm gonna wear it every day because their brand aligns with what I represent. If you're a Drake fan, people have the owls on their sweaters and stuff. Hey, this is the lifestyle that I represent, and you really got to take that into consideration when you're creating a product. Like, if that's music, if that's clothes, if that's movies, there's a story that needs to be told. There needs to be a direct to consumer experience for the advanced users. So, just overall synopsis of this video, it's dope. It's a good idea to give out free samples when you're doing things like activations. So having a retail spot, or collaborating with retail spots or larger companies to host things. So if you're able to cut out the middleman of these promoters, and you're able to leverage your popularity or your fan base with venues yourself, and set up the event, and contract certain events, having a physical spot where people can come and show support. And it'd be dope if you can do it on a actual retail physical store level for yourself, but providing that lifestyle. And with providing that lifestyle type brand, you really want to have a story behind of what you're doing. So in the case of Nipsey Hussle, much respect. Today is March 31st. It's honoring of Nipsey's pass and transition to the other side. He in this video, he has the Marathon clothing, and if you really break down what the Marathon clothing means, it's like a story about someone coming up from the ghetto of Los Angeles, but rising and hustling and making it through. And when you're wearing the Crenshaw, that's like you representing that area. If you're wearing the Marathon clothing, that means you're representing this hustle, this culture of building and trying to grind and make this empire for yourself. and, you know, generational wealth type stuff. If you were, and that's the narration through, you know, that's the story that's being told. If it's an album like GNX, it's the story of what's happening in the world today and what you're representing now and how it's being packaged. And then obviously at the end, we're talking about how providing those free samples, having a product that is valued at a higher price point. So I hope you guys enjoyed these tips from Nipsey Hussle. This is something I wanted to do, you know, that's positive in remembrance of Nipsey Hussle. There's a lot of negative stuff going on right now, but I do appreciate you guys watching this video, and big bless up to Nipsey Hussle. You know, keep learning, keep being an independent artist on your grind, cut out the middleman. You don't need these big companies. You need to just be yourself, have a unique voice, and do you. So I appreciate you guys. You guys have a blessed night, and let's get into these clips and let's get into this next video.